Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ola from Greenroads Real Estate, and a question I got a lot recently, if it's still worth buying real estate in Spain in today's market. So in today's video, I'm gonna go through it with you and explain the opportunities, the risks that are in this market, and if it's still worth it to invest in Spanish real estate. Spain has always been one of the top investment destinations for property in Europe, and it has several reasons. First of all, it's affordability. Compared to other European markets, Spain is still affordable. If you look at Amsterdam, Paris, or London, Barcelona and Madrid are significantly cheaper. Then the next one is tourism. Spain attracts millions of visitors every single year, and still this year that's happening. And why is that? Because Spain has an attractive climate, the weather is always good, the food is amazing, and it's significantly more affordable than other European countries. That attracts millions of people every single year to Spain. And it causes the next thing, high rental demand, because you have short-term rental demand, mid-term rental demand, people that want to stay for a couple of months, want to do an internship in Spain, and you have long-term rental demand. And the last reason, because the property prices are lower and there's high rental demand for short-term rental and long-term rental, this means that the cash flow is good. So this makes Spain an attractive investment destination within Europe. Of course, it's not all sunshine here in Spain, and it comes with the past years. There's a lot of new regulation introduced by the Spanish government, especially regarding short-term rentals. In Barcelona, for example, there's an Airbnb ban. There's more strict regulation and enforcement in all Spain regarding tourist rental licenses, and in many places they don't give out new licenses anymore. Then there's new property taxes, for example in Catalonia, for big property holders that own more than 5 properties. It went up from 10 to 20%, and there's no transfer tax deduction if you flip properties within 3 years. And there are several proposals, for example 100% transfer tax for non-EU residents that have been proposed. So there's like a lot of things going on in the Spanish real estate market that make it more scarier for investors, especially if you're a non-EU citizen, that you're like, okay, what's going on with the regulation? And it brings less stability. So these are the challenges we see in the Spanish market today, that it's just a bit less stable and we don't know what to expect, but with challenges come opportunities. So for short-term rentals, I would definitely advise you not to go to big cities like Valencia, Madrid, or Alicante. Why? Because you can see that these cities, they use short-term rentals as a scapegoat for the housing crisis. So definitely, if you want to do short-term rental, go to like a tourist destination, for example Costa del Sol or the Balearic Islands, Mallorca, for example. If you can still find a tourist rental apartment or a house with a license that you can transfer, you always have to check local regulation if you can transfer the licenses or if they still give out new licenses. And if you buy an apartment, if the HOA accepts short-term rentals. So it's very, very important if you buy in a certain area, do your due diligence if it's still allowed to do short-term rental, because the last thing you want is to buy a short-term rental and then you cannot do Airbnb or booking.com. And I would advise, if you buy a short-term rental, then buy better a house than an apartment. Why? Because apartments, you have to deal with HOAs. Maybe they can change that short-term rentals are not allowed anymore in the HOA. And if you have a house, it's just you. There's no other neighbors that determine if you can have a short-term rental, yes or no. Plus, from the government perspective, of course, who's taking the starter homes away? Airbnbs that are in an apartment, or you have a villa that's like 600 or 700,000 euros in a tourist destination. Yeah, that's not very a starter home. So if you go for short-term rentals, buy them in high tourist demand areas where it's less regulated, and go for stand-alone houses instead of apartments where you have to deal with HOAs. So house flipping and renovations are still very interesting. You can find squatter homes that have been destroyed by squatters, and you can get those for a cheap price, fix them up and sell them. In Catalonia, you should have not more than 5 properties, because otherwise you pay the 20% transfer tax. This is very interesting. Or just look for motivated sellers that are neat in cash and you can find a good deal, flip the property. Of course, with the higher transfer tax, it's a bit more difficult, because before we only had to pay 3% here in Catalonia. Now there's 10%. So It's a bit more difficult, so you need to find better deals, get them 30% below market value to have enough margin to make a profit. Then other properties that are interesting are long-term rental apartments that have a tenant inside them. Could be interesting if you can get them for bottom price. Try to negotiate with the tenant if you can get them out faster, or just wait it out and then renovate it and sell it for a good profit. Medium-term rentals in big cities like Valencia, Barcelona, Madrid, or Alicante, Sevilla, also very interesting. There's a high demand for these rentals, so if you furnish it well, you can rent it out to expats. Maybe not have the best cash flow, but if you buy in a good location, add value to the property by renovating it, and then wait for a couple of years, have good appreciation, then you can have a good return if you sell it for a good price. Yes, there are regulation challenges, but you see that within the whole Europe. So I think if you still use the right strategy, buy in a good location, and add value to the property, you will make money in the end. If you're an international investor, you always have to consider legal setup and taxes. You also have to consider local regulations, and you have to choose your right investment strategy. You want to go for a lifestyle, you want to go for appreciation, you want to go for cash flow. If you know what you want and you know the location you want, you can make a right strategy. But you also need to have a right team in place to help you with the execution. We at Greenroads Real Estate can help you here in Barcelona and Costa Brava to find you suitable investment opportunities. So if you're interested, you can go to my website greenroadsrealestate.com to schedule a call with me, and we can see further how we can help you. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.